Right. Hi, this is Michael Russ. You're with us, myself, and Glenn Broks on Beyond the 3D. It's the podcast that elevates your thinking, takes you to a different place, encourages you to break out of patterns of behavior and move into a new realm, a new reality, to look at the world as somewhat of an illusion of sorts, and see it from a different perspective, see it from a different angle, elevate your behavior, get away from the fear, the drama, the scarcity, the lack, the concern and worry that you have about the present and about the future, maybe embracing negativity from the past and dragging it into the present moment, all of these things. Today, we're going to talk about something very, very interesting. It's going to be a really juicy discussion about how to embrace heartbreak. Embrace heartbreak and move forward. My friend Glenn Broks has got a really unique perspective on that. And Glenn, how you doing? Welcome.
Good afternoon, good morning, good evening.
Yeah, absolutely. I've got a good friend of mine who is who I mentioned to you a little bit ago, who's like one side or the other. Either it's all in or it's all over, and there's no in between ground with her, and she's suffering badly right now because she has the person that she's deeply in love with has said he doesn't want to be with her right now. There are other extenuating circumstances that go along with this situation as to why he said that. It wasn't as if he's some kind of free guy. He's been living with somebody for a couple of years and for 7 years, evidently. They're not married. And he's had 3 past divorces, and he's a little afraid to move forward. And they really love each other, but he's afraid to leave that situation. I mean, there are a myriad of situations, hundreds of and thousands of different, millions even of contexts that you could put into this that lead to heartbreak. But let's just talk about this word embrace, which is something that you came up with, and I think it's absolutely awesome. People, and instead of getting over heartbreak, it's embracing it. Start off and just kind of give us just your explanation of what you're talking about there.
At the last Unscripted Power event, people go to unscriptedpower.com, Unscripted Power on YouTube. I gave about an 18-minute, 17-minute talk. So heartbreak, it's an interesting phenomenon. It might be. I would say that heartbreak underlies almost every ailment, and not just ailment, but our ability to embrace life and become more wise and live our lives with wisdom and vitality and connection. Because our physical heart, it kind of modulates. It moves through different places.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of like jumping off the merry-go-round. I'm so inspired that the next experience, the next conference we put together really gets into this, because it's a huge topic. So when people think about heartbreak, and by the way, there's a new book out by, she's a former Olympic swimmer. She wrote a book called, what was it called? Something like, I think it was called Swimming in a Sink. And it was kind of about her journey back from heartbreak. And so she actually read about the symptoms of heartbreak, because she thought she was dying physically.
Right, because it does affect you physically. Let's talk.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, here's the thing. It's when we really bond with someone, and we go into this other place in our nervous system together. It's the parasympathetic. We let down in a way, and the wonders of life open up. It's the wonders of love.
Right.
And so what kind of happens is depending on our education and our relationship to our bodies and minds and emotions, sometimes what happens is that love brings up everything unlike itself. Love. So what happens is when you open up with someone, all their doubts and fears come up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And, so guys, so in my own experience, for about 2 years, I went through the state of heartbreak, and it was one of the most difficult things. I have a lot of resources as a kind of one of the pioneers on life coaching, and a lot of people I could reach out to, but it was one of the most difficult periods of my life. As a matter of fact, I recall on Father's Day when my children would come pick me up, I could barely stand up. I had to crawl to the bed to stand up. It was like, I felt the impact of it, like a wave knocking me down.
Right.
And so I sensed 2 things. It was like I sensed, I I guess it was just, it took me a while to get to Embrace because it was something I didn't want. But then I went through this period, maybe about 15 nights where I had these series. I call them soul scenes. I saw things and opened to things. And I had this one accumulating dream of soul seeing that changed my whole body. It changed the way I breathe.
Mm-hmm.
And it made me, and then it got me really curious. And the gift of that was that I could actually, when I'm with couples, I could feel where a couple could love into. So part of my work now is with couples and also a very different kind of matchmaking. I guess the bottom line of heartbreak is that, you know, there's a gift to it. And for couples that understand relational principles, you could use it to deepen your love rather than run away from the love that's there. So I would say what's common is that people run away, they amplify the fear by creating drama, right?
Yeah.
So that's so when people remarry, as an example, who are divorced,
mm-hmm.
the people that actually see the gift of remarrying, let's say,
mm-hmm.
it's a very unusual thing. That's like a cultural no-no. But when people do it, the love and the awareness, it's at another whole level.
Of course.
Yeah. So I would just say it's one of the most unspoken about recognized things I think we have. And I think for the most part, similar to a lot of relational dilemmas, either people say the wrong thing or they don't know what to say. In Michelle Weiner Davis says in her book that The Divorce Remedy, she says, well, people push you towards divorcing because they don't know what else to do. So we don't have a model yet of moving into deeper unity and connection, and therefore it's very confusing to the system. So
well, let me just stop you there. Let's go back to one scenario, the one I was talking about before. I mean, there was no marriage. There was a situation, some extenuating circumstances where two people fell in love. One happened to be connected with another person, not married, in what was described as a soulless, intimacy-less relationship. However, this person was afraid to embrace true, real love that he was feeling for this other person out of fear and just out of fear, just plain fear of change, that maybe perhaps it would turn out the same way. It wouldn't work out, although it was a deeper love situation than he'd ever felt in his previous marriages. It's almost like a soul connection, a soul-to-soul connection, so to speak. Now, let's just talk about, that's just one example of somebody who's not undergoing divorce. There's no possibility of their getting back together. They do love each other. But what about people who it is over? Let's face it, it's over. Maybe the guy's with somebody else or the girl's with somebody else, and you're suffering great heartbreak. Or it could be any number of circumstances. Maybe they've lost the love. That love passed away, and that love is never coming back. I mean, there's lots of different scenarios for why someone would need to embrace the heartbreak. But let's talk about the one that doesn't have to do with marriage and divorce. What do you say to that? Because I know you're well read in this particular area.
So the one that I want to share with people an unusual story. I heard about a woman, and she was in Florida, and her husband would go on these business trips to Atlanta. And I want to talk a moment about devotion and about how we can live past time for a second. Because time and perception and the conditioning we have around that are pretty big. So, so I'm going to stretch your minds. To stretch your minds open, maybe stretch your hearts too.
Mm-hmm.
So this woman's husband would go to Atlanta, and she was feeling uneasy, as a lot of us do. We have a sense of things beyond what we could explain, right?
Right.
So she felt like something was going on with him. And basically, one day, or after 2 years of doing this, he didn't come back from Atlanta. And he called her and told her he met someone else. And you know, soon they were divorced, and he was married again. Now, in our culture, in our conditioning, and one of the things I as a facilitator of possibility and helping people use a productive path of action and a productive path of embodying a new vision, which is huge, a new way of seeing. So A lot of people would have given up if they were her, right? Because you could say it's over. Her husband's married again. He's in Atlanta. She's in Florida. But she did just the opposite. She lit candles and really felt in her deepest heart that this is the man she was supposed to be with forever. So on the surface level, it looked pretty disastrous. And you could say it was a bad waste of time, or why was she doing this? And
why didn't she move on?
Why didn't she move on? Right, exactly. All the cultural things move on. He's now her ex. Yeah.
She didn't give up on him. Long story short, what happened? Because I know
he called her.
Yeah.
And she said the first time she heard his voice was after it was 9 months. And she did her practice every day. Mm-hmm. She knew when she heard his voice that she could feel, if you will, his soul. She could feel. And he just basically said, they talked probably, let's say, 8 times. Well, let me just say they've been married another 18 years.
They got remarried.
They got
divorced a gal in Atlanta. He came back. They got remarried. Okay, I mean, that's fine. I mean, I think that's an awesome story. Yeah. And one that she fully believed that he was her soulmate. And that and then went through some exercises and processes, which I'm sure made her. And here's what I take from this. Mm-hmm. From a perspective of zero adversity, she basically did what she did. She took action that was positive for her, positive action. And I mean, she asked herself, well, what can I do? She took that positive action. And I'm sure that positive action is what totally derailed the whole heartbreak scenario, because what you're talking about is something incredibly positive. We're talking about somebody who's sitting down and they're focusing on the two of them being together energetically. And to me, that is the definition of zero adversity. It's not beating yourself head up against the wall saying, woe is me, my heart's broken, I'll never ever love again. None of that. See, because her positive action derailed all that. She had a belief system. She acted with that belief system. She put solid energy behind it. Because your mind can't focus on woe is me, having a pity party about what happened, about your loss, and thinking about scarcity and lack, if you were taking positive action in another direction. You see my point? She did something absolutely incredible.
Yeah, I just want to say, before we talk about the action, let's talk about this ability to drop in for a second. So dropping in is this ability or awareness to drop from this part of our body into another part of it's a kind of just drop in the moment and really treasure. So I want to say that there were some principles that she had.
Right.
And so she really trusted that there's a principle of what I would call a relational field. And that she felt a deep recognition and faith that was alive in her life.
Right.
And I sat not long ago with they call it being a sheikh. He was a Sufi master,
right?
Master Tanner, and he told me this story about dropping in that really touched me.
Okay.
So it's a story about this father on the East Coast. I've been over to his place a few times. He's at this Master Sheikh is in the Albany area, or he's in the Berkshire. He's nice, about a couple hours from me. He's a very sweet man. Mm-hmm. And so he told me that this guy came to see him to tell him that his son had a terrible crash on his mountain bike, and his lungs were filled with fluid, and he was dying basically. The son was 28, and the father was very upset. And Master Tanner, who was sitting in the studio on a summer's day, and Master Tanner, he's got these great eyes, and he said to me, he says, Glenn, he goes, I couldn't help him. And he goes, but then I realized I could help him. And he asked the man if he could feel tears, and if he could drop into the state where he felt tears and sorrow. Mm-hmm. Because Master Tanner said, I need to let my heart be really touched, and then I know I can heal your son. Right. So the man started to cry. Master Tanner felt his heart, and almost within, I think it was 3 or 4 hours, the hospital called to say that the lungs were now decongesting, his vitals were coming back. So this thing about dropping in, and that was an example of a drop-in. That's where, Master Ten had to ask his heart. See, we're so busy thinking sometimes, we got to see and feel our heart. Because heartbreak, the challenge of heartbreak is that we get so used to seeing it from a certain perception. And I want to say it was the most difficult thing I've ever went through. I mean, I really felt with Donna that you know what it was? I had recognition of how much I loved her. That was the other tough thing, is I realized no matter what I did or how asleep I was or what I missed, I knew it was like recognition of a tree. Like imagine if you didn't see for 10 years and then you looked at a tree and there's two beautiful trees in my front yard. So imagine being able to really get into this perspective where you see something and you drop into the recognition of the wonder of it. Like as an example, if you're going through a tough time relationally, if you can just start to drop in and appreciate what's there, and a level that moves your heart, a level that, because that's a different signal. What happens is we get into heart, as we talked about frequency, it's a different frequency. Mm-hmm. So, and I've done this. People have come to visit me without ever meeting me in person. And one of the things that they say to me is that the highest gift, and I think I said this in the last show, is that this medical doctor came to see me, and she told me before she came to see me that I was the only person in her life that truly saw her. And I was so moved by that even it was really interesting. A lot of times we couldn't speak about certain things, but we had this deep connection. Right. There was emotional turbulence. So first of all, let me say this to you, that I was deeply confused during this period. I did everything. I have a lot of connections, and I kept wanting to solve it. And what I needed to also do is kind of recognize and drop into another level in myself. And then I felt almost this joy of connection with Donna, even though we didn't speak. So the opportunity of heartbreak is to see and feel and become a more alive human being, even though at the surface level it's tremendously difficult. So it's a paradox. On one level, it challenges our soul to another whole level.
I think that's the key here. I think that's probably the most important thing so far that you've said, is that you've got to, even though it's that catch-22, so to speak, you've got to see and feel and embrace the present moment of where you are, in spite of the fact that you've got the situation that's happening, and it's connecting with your own heart. And what I had when I was 22 years old, I had my girlfriend was 25, and she died. She basically had an asthmatic attack, a very bad one, at her parents' house while she was visiting them after she left me. And she said, and basically her parents said that there was nothing to do to save her. She went into a coma for 3 weeks, and then she passed away. Talk about heartbreak. Incredible woman. One of the loves of my life. And, obviously my life would have been a whole lot different had she survived, had she lived. The connection was really, really deep from a soul level. I mean, it was really, really, really deep. And it affected me for in unknown ways for the next 10 years. I mean, I dove into work, and I shifted and changed, and I started dating someone else about 4 years after that. Then I got married, and the whole 9 yards. Point being that it is, I was focusing, and I put this in my book as an example, Zero Versity, my book. I was focused on the loss, and my self-talk, my inner conversation was all surrounding the loss. And I wasn't doing what we're talking about in this in terms of embracing the heartbreak. I wasn't embracing it until I woke up one day and I said, wow. It's almost like I woke up out of a funk, so to speak, I came out of the, I rose to a whole new level, okay, and said, wow, I really need to be embracing, instead of, being saddened about her loss and letting it affect my present moment, where I am, where I'm going. I need to be thinking, okay, I had such an incredible time with this person, a treasured time. And I started thinking about the really cool things we did together, and the business we had together, the creativity and inspiration we had actively. We were on the same level mentally in terms of creation, and it was absolutely awesome, heart-to-heart connection. And the time I saw her last before she went into this, before she went to see her parents and got into this, had this attack, was one of the most beautiful times in my life in terms of connection with another human being. One of the most beautiful. I have some incredible ones now, but it was one at that time. It was the most amazing ever. It's when I first had that full soul-to-soul connection with another human being, and something that I've sought to have since then. And what's interesting is this whole embrace. Now, I also did one other thing too. I had to kind of forgive myself for feeling the way I was feeling. I mean, I'm a big Jen Polsky fan, and I love it. Matter of fact, I have his book over here. Love is. My gosh, what is it? Love is. You know it. Come on, Gerald.
Love is the answer?
Huh? No.
Love
is never letting go.
Love is letting go of fear is his first book.
Love's letting go of fear, because we do fear. We fear that we're not going to have that again, that situation again. We fear we're not going to have it. But I mean, in this particular case, this was a finality that I had to deal with and move on in my life. So I had to, rectify it in my own mind. And today I look upon the time we'd spent together fondly. And I remember her in as someone would remember, seeing an angel, and it doesn't bother, infect or disrupt my present moment. My thoughts are all positive, and I've moved past it. I've embraced that time we had together. I've embraced it. My heart has healed from that, because I did embrace it, because I stopped fighting. I stopped that whole. Every time I thought about her, it just ruined my moment. Just ruined my day, and that went on for a long period of time. And I just swept it under the carpet, like guys do. We sweep it under the carpet, and you just sweep our feelings down. We don't embrace those feelings. And so the other thing too is my inner conversation was supporting that. Now, this whole concept of dropping in is phenomenal. It's phenomenal because I don't think most people look at it that way. I think the other thing you said too is that I thought was amazing is, trust in the relational field. Trust in your in relational field. Very, very cool. The moment you feel your heart, you see and feel it, you connect with yourself, and you feel this richness that you have within you from that heart perspective. And I don't think people really look at it that way. It's always black and white. You're either with them or you're not. It's over, and you got to take it to another level altogether and see it, breathe, and see it from a different perspective. So let me just ask you this: someone's experiencing huge. I mean, there's a lot of really cool, more juicy morsels here that people can take something from to see this whole heartbreak from a different angle. What is the one thing that someone should really, they're feeling that heartbreak? We've come at this from different angles, from the woman the incredible woman in Orlando, to my situation where it's final. There is no, getting that person back. And there's a lot of situations like that. And what should somebody do? What's the one thing that someone should do first, other than the thing that you and I believe is obvious, which is stepping back and taking some really, really deep breaths? What is it that you think someone should focus on beyond that they should attempt to engage when they're feeling this way? I'm challenging you here because
the first thing that came to me was was exhaling. Exhaling, it opens up energy. Mm-hmm. And so exhaling, I mean, I find trees very powerful to be around, because the trees have roots and they reach the heavens.
Get into nature, you'd say?
Absolutely. Get into nature. Anytime we're shocked to rock, it depletes our vitamin B12.
Uh-huh.
It's like this grace, it's this passage that, wow, it's just such a passage, and there's not one formula for it, but I would say, walking is like the king of exercises. Walk, feel yourself walk, feel your body. You know, I had a friend of mine. She's a massage therapist. And she would massage me, but she really appreciated. I think she had a deep appreciation of just my way. And so I would get massaged, and it was like, oh my God, time was such a strange thing, Michael, because each moment of the day represented to me the relationship that I would have with Donna and the deep appreciation.
Right.
I mean, I'm going to shoot a video within the next month. There's two things I'm going to do. One is I'm going to shoot this video called The Announcement. And two is I'm going to find someone who looks exactly like Donna, who has this energy like Donna. And I'm going to actually do this video to kind of share with her all the things I haven't shared with her.
Right.
So the other thing you could do is you could get a picture of someone, and you could actually speak to them from this other place in yourself. And as you exhale and you drop in, yeah, just focus on this allowing, and also let yourself be turbulent. You know, turbulence, if you watch turbulence, I was joking to someone last night, the toughest thing, if you think about a drowning person, the toughest thing, I always think about when I'm playing volleyball, that I got to be especially conscious when someone is too excited. Like, you could get hurt in the dojo by someone who's new. Well, in drowning, the person will sooner kill you than let you assist them. And sometimes that person lives in us. But sometimes I realize, well, the turbulence, so allowing turbulence to move through you is a big deal. One of my favorite books, by the way, is a book called Going Sane. And one of his big points is that as you become more sane, you go through these waves of detoxification. And I want to say in my new, from the inside out, like what happened to me, or what happened relationally, was I started to realize I had these resources in me. So I started to listen more to this relational wisdom as it grew in me. And I started to move from that. And so in some ways, I have more intimacy now. I guess, you know, patience, I think, is the toughest thing as a human being, to be patient when we're pained. So I'm going to start doing groups on this. I'm going to start doing these groups about, you know, unwinding or embracing heartbreak, because it's another thing that hopefully the heart modulates, so it shuts, it opens, and then it has these in-between places. So as we have an awareness that this is a cycle, we start to realize in the cycle we can allow in things. You know, as an example, you know, when you hug someone, just allow yourself to just drop into the hug. I did this with a woman in Boston, and I thought I didn't like her. And the exercise is to embrace the person as your daughter. And as soon as I knew she represented Leisha, I just hugged her. And then, you know, when you hug someone, you have a little bit of an exhale. Imagine the next exhale, you go, ah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's awesome. You know, I did that. I see this friend of mine, and I realized that I hugged him. You know, he took me to a restaurant yesterday that was like, I don't know what you call it, European fusion, new fusion. It was like, this dish was like out of this world, and it was a teeny amount. He said to me, don't come to this restaurant when you're hungry. But there was like, it was mind-blowing.
It was small plates, very, very dynamic small plates, right?
Very small plates, brilliantly presented. You could watch 9 chefs doing all these interesting things with food. So yesterday I noticed I was feeling sad.
Okay.
And then when we went into this antique store where the woman's husband travels the world. He was in Norway. And I started to participate with her. And so there's moments, what you do, you know, you focus on the appreciation. One of the ways you focus on appreciation is you light a candle at the end of the day and just feel those moments. And this is what you do. What we do is we sweep our mind, and we kind of do it superficially. But I want you to, if someone held a door for you, I want you to feel that door, how that person held the door for you was the greatest blessing on the earth. So you feel this in your heart, and you drop into it, and you allow these moments. Like what happened today? So today, you know, sometimes a person smiles at me, or something happens, and then I drop into it, and it's like, wow, I just allow myself to experience that. You know, or someone just does a moment of kindness. Like, I don't like the bank I'm with right now. And I went to the bank yesterday, a new bank, and the guy just looked, a friend of mine was turning over a check, and you know, he just had this energy like, I know you, I trust you, and he passed it on to the teller. I think maybe he was the assistant manager, and it was like he didn't need to do that. A lot of people don't do that. We have a world of, I don't know you. And he was a world, a me and you world. And it's like today, I'm like, wow. Because part of my adversity was the whole way the bank dealt with me was I get these letters, and it was like, and now this guy's like, come by and open a business account. I'll assist you. I'm having a business guy call you.
Well, listen, the fact is, you were intuitively guided to the right place.
Yeah, it was.
Sometimes we spend a lot of time. We spend time fighting when we should be saying to ourselves, you know, this is not the place for me.
Yes.
And instead of fighting this, you know, with a lot of power and put a lot of force in that area and trying to get things to work.
Yes. Right.
What we need to really do is just leave and go find the place that is right for us. And I know, because I don't do business with big banks that'll remain nameless. I'm talking about mega banks. One starts with a B, the other starts with a W, and then there's another one, a couple of them that start with C's. I don't do business with these people because they're so big that there's nothing personal about them. Nothing personal. Not even, you know, for anybody. Unless you have boatloads of money, and then you get private client services and you get a representative. It's almost like having a butler, you know. And down where I am here in the South, I've always sought, and I went to a small bank when I was looking to open a bank account. That's what I did. Now, I don't want to get away from the subject because you put some juicy stuff in here. Appreciation. I just want to go over these things that you've talked about so far, just to kind of recap for the people who are listening or viewing this video on YouTube. Number one, see and feel. See and feel yourself. See yourself. Feel how you're feeling. Exhale, big time. Inhale and exhale deeply. Get into nature. Take a walk.
When you exhale, let yourself be empty. Like exhale, you have the sense of emptiness. And then when you allow, they call this the pause. When you exhale, there's a place in the exhale where there's a little pause, and you allow the inhale to come.
Right.
This
there you go.
Slows you down. And you allow the organs to fill.
Right.
And part I mentioned emptiness.
Right.
So emptiness is kind of letting this cosmic force that lives our lives through us. You know, it runs our pulse, it runs our heart, and it just gives you that different perspective in your body.
Right.
And so I want to say that I want to encourage people to be part of a group where you practice together with reverence and listening. And I know that part of my mission on the planet is to be with people in this way. And part of it, of course, is unscripted power. The funny thing about people's mission in speaking is that the more moved they are by listening to their soul and having that be a relational soul. I mean, just the other day, I was at the supermarket, and I got into a conversation about a guy who was poisoned by his cooking ware. He was a manager of the vegetable department.
Mm-hmm.
I just dropped in. Like, here's the thing: when you're talking to someone, don't be minding off. Allow yourself to drop in and just be with them, and make that God for a moment. What we give our attention to is our worship. So when you say yes to someone, just don't say yes. Let yourself really drop into that yes.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll start to see something different.
Let's talk about something here real quick, because when people are feeling extreme heartbreak, a lot of times it's very challenging for them to go someplace and really connect with somebody, because what's on their mind, what's dominating their thought process, is this heartbreak. So I think the most important thing of what you're saying here is, when you're experiencing heartbreak, it is important to drop in and feel a connection with other people that you encounter in your life. Strangers, friends, family, whatever. Feel the connection with them. Feel the connection with them. Which, being in the moment is going to block out, because you're in the moment. It's going to block out this heartbreak that you're feeling, because you're connecting with another human being, which is going to make it a lot easier for you in your life. And a lot of people, I mean, listen, I know this particular person is a friend of mine, and literally it dominates her entire life. It's almost as if she feels she's incapable of experiencing anything with anybody else.
Have her call me.
Yeah, really. I'll
have her call me. I'll guide her through it. I tell you, I was around a lot of pretty wise people, and one of my therapists would say to me, he said, well, this would be about a year of grief. And I used to joke to him that I said, I look at my clock sometimes and say, a year. I got a month to go here. It's not like that.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah,
say something.
Listen, The concept, the other thing you mentioned that I thought was really cool is get a massage.
Oh, yeah.
Because, this is, we were talking about this a little bit earlier, is that the muscles harbor deep, deep pain and suffering and traumatic.
And the organs and the cells and
everything. Your body, your organs, your cells, your muscles, they harbor this deep, this deep pain. And what we want to do is we want to be able to release that. It's sort of a toxin that builds up in your cells and your muscles and your organs. You want to get it out. People don't look at it that way, I don't think. It's like drinking something toxic and it's affecting your entire body.
Well, there's another simple thing people could do is get some kosher salt and take a salt bath. The salt bath cleans our auric body and pulls out the energy toxins. So salt, if you're going through a really tough time psychologically and you feel take salt baths.
Yeah, Epsom salt.
Epsom.
I love it. I love
kosher salt.
Yeah, I think it's awesome. The other thing we're talking about too, allow your turbulence to run through you instead of just doing this blocking and trying all that. Feel it, let it run through you and exit from you. Through you and exit from you. A lot of people, it's just running, bouncing in there off the walls, pinging off the walls. It's all that's there, and it's very challenging for people to do it. I look at these words. I look at how people's inner conversation gets disjointed when they experience heartbreak or any kind of trauma like that, emotional trauma. The first thing that happens is they start using those 7 words I really can't stand. Try, tough, hard, difficult, impossible, those kinds of words, never, these are words that people will incorporate into their inner conversation when it's around moving through this heartbreak, moving through the heartbreak. They refer to what they're going through as hard, tough, difficult, impossible, and that they're never going to do it. And I caution them to be very cognizant of this language that they're using, because that language creates other barriers. Who says it's going to be hard? There's another way to view this thing. Why not say it's a challenge that I'm moving through right now? It's a challenge I'm moving through. Doesn't mean you're never going to get through it. It just means that you're going to refer to it in a different way to make it easier for yourself, to make it easier and not build other obstacles. So you can do these other things, be open to those other things, because a lot of times people say, while they're deep in this thing and they're feeling it and nothing else can get in. Because I know emotionally, when the emotional trauma is in control, the emotional state is in control, you don't really hear much. I experienced that in college when I had to break up with a young lady who I had a really wonderful 2-year relationship with, because her father was about to cut her off financially if she didn't break up with me. And she was an out-of-state student at the school, and it would have just ruined her life. She had all these plans. And when I went to her, and this is a really interesting story. I put this in my book too, because it's really, it's weird. When I broke up with her, and I told her why we needed to break up. I said, we need to break up. We need to break up because I don't want your father cutting you off. And you need to prove to him that you're not with me. So that he will keep paying your out-of-state tuition. Her grandmother didn't even like me. And I'd met her father. He looked at me and, oh yeah, great. And then he turned around, when I left and talked like me, talked down about me and said, you're not going out with him anymore. And it was a racial thing. What the heck? And she was an awesome, awesome gal. And we had an awesome relationship. Now, 5 years, run ahead 5 years, because 6 months went by and she was sort of in hysterics. I mean, she was totally hysterical for 6 months afterwards before she kind of came out of this state. It was almost like her chemicals in her body were completely out of balance, and all she could, and it just literally took her over, like she had a demon inside of her or something, and for 6 months. And then she broke through it. 5 years later, I call her up. I'm down in the area, in the Bay Area, and I say, let's have dinner. We go to a friend of mine's restaurant. And then she asked me this question. First question out of her mouth. Why did you break up with me? And I'm like, okay, wait a minute. And I told her why. And she looked at me kind of perplexingly and she said, so you're playing the good guy, huh? I said, She had gotten a master's degree, a bachelor's degree, then a master's degree from that. She went to work for a major company. She was having a great job. She was still in the Bay Area. Her life had moved on and moved forward exactly in accordance with her plans. And if I'd have been part of the picture at the time, I mean, there was a decision that we had to make. Either I was going to, insist that we stay together and force that issue, and then she gets cut off, and then she can't afford to be there, and then her life takes a different turn. Or I kind of, at whatever I was 18 years of age, and I decided to kind of like say, you know what, it's better for me to bow out at this particular point. We've got a long life to live, and the like. So yeah, I was kind of playing the good guy, but she didn't, her emotional state at the time wouldn't absorb the reasoning as to why she was having that heartbreak, why she was feeling that heartbreak. And but she was a happy, well-adjusted person, and she's moving on, and she's awesome today. She's we're the same age, up in our 50s now, and that was back in the 70s. But it's just all kinds of interesting things happen. I mean, I'd like to go to her today and say, hey, how are you doing? What do you feel? How, just connect with her in a way that is friendly, but ask her again, did she get it? Did she understand? I mean, she shocked the heck out of me. I thought she had got it. And I took laborious time to sit down with her and from a heart connection, talk about the situation with her father and the whole 9 yards. And I could just went in one ear and out the other, just totally just got forgotten, and yes, she moved on, but it's wonderful that she did. But there are people out there, I shouldn't say but, I like to say however, because I don't want to negate everything in front of what that I just said. This concept, we talked about some really, really cool stuff here today, and I want to give our audience an opportunity to digest it, and definitely would love to hear from you as you're watching this on YouTube. Make a comment. If you're hearing it on my podcast, send me an email to enquiry@michaeljruss.com. And we'll forward it on. And what we'd love to do is pick up this conversation, answer your questions in a future show. This is something that is rampant. And I look at it this way. Our society today, our kids today, our younger generation, millennials, X, Y, whatever, are experiencing a different kind of environment. It's dominated by digital, which means that the heart connections are not being made at a young age like they would have been when we were young. When you spent a lot of time on your phone, on the computer, versus being out in the street, making connections with friends, and playing games together, because that's what you did. You have a whole different reality in terms of, and a whole different result when you're growing up. And so when you're in college or high school or college and you break up with someone and you feel this extreme heartbreak and can't understand it, and the feelings that you felt haven't been something that you felt before. I mean, obviously, this is what we hope, Glenn and I, will help in this regard. And I love to approach this subject. Again, there's so much juiciness here, Glenn. It's awesome. I mean, it really, really is. I mean, you've touched on so many cool things that I'm going to pass on, by the way, to this friend of mine, because I think you have, in this session, given me an impetus for a conversation with her as to how she can move through this, embrace this, and move forward.
I want to say one more thing that's relevant. Oh, by the way, my deep appreciation today. Mm-hmm. I called a guy. He's a lawyer in this area. He's a lawyer turned coach. Mm-hmm. And I called to just say, hey, and how much I appreciate his willingness to take this risk. He's an amazing human being. Mm-hmm. And I think he moved to Ireland. He was just telling me he did everything almost. One night it was colder. They went to Ireland, but the bottom line, he told me how much he deeply appreciated my message, mm-hmm. and I just dropped in. It was like I needed, because I felt like I needed to be touched. Let yourself be touched. With this woman friend of yours, there's nothing like having another human find coherence with you and feel a sense of touch. I love to work. I'd love to assist her personally. And Michael, you're listening. See, it's in relational dialogue. It's in when we listen that we bring something, another whole dimension together. And that's what I love about dialoguing and exploring with you, because it's in this deep listening,
Mm-hmm.
and the listening to the listening. As we observe ourselves listening, there's another listening going on. It's kind of like,
Exactly.
right in the moment.
Yeah.
Just,
oh yeah.
So,
That's
I
the
want to
beauty
say
of it,
that,
though. That's the beauty of it. That's just that. However, that's something that we have to allow to occur. We have to put ourselves in a situation where that can happen. And I'm afraid that this digital world that we're in
I agree
doesn't
with
allow
you.
that.
It was so funny. One night I was hiking with someone, and she had she had a light app, and I realized there's an app for everything. What I recommend you do is put your phone down, take 3-hour breaks.
What app?
Start to feel your heart app.
Oh,
Your heart app.
yeah,
Right? Your heart app.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
And here's the thing. This is something to play with. What I do now is if I notice something, and it's a feel, because I teach a course on relational intuition.
Right.
And what happens is if I drive by and I sense something, I say to myself, sense that. And then I tune in deeper. I drop into that sense. And a lot of times it's someone that I was supposed to see. Like it's almost like different. If you're constantly on technology, it pulls you out of that.
True.
So I just encourage people, even if it's a half hour a day, whatever it is, just let yourself sense and feel without constantly referencing. I know what time it is 24 hours a day. I don't need an alarm clock. I could get up 3:30 this morning and just wake up.
Yeah.
And we have that capacity. But if we constantly,
Well, it's true. I think that's a great exercise. Just kind of sense and feel. Pick some time, put the electronics aside, forget about email, forget about that stuff. Step into nature, sense and feel. I love doing that. I love the walks we take every morning, because my phone doesn't go along. Neither does, hers only goes along to count the steps. And there's no association with it other than that. What it does, though, it gets you into nature. It gets you into a sense of rhythm for the day. And it allows you it gets you breathing, and gets you connected, not only to the person you're walking with, which is a really cool idea, by the way, is to walk with someone, or walk with a group where you can all sense each other's presence. And it's all about that. These are skills that we develop when we decide with intention that this is what we're going to do. And I love the conversations that we have as well. And these 3D, beyond the 3D podcasts that we create, are hopefully going to shed some light on these various topics that we have. This is, we're talking about rising above heartbreak, embracing it, rising above it,
allowing it.
I mean, there's all these different verbiage that we can use to describe this. However, it is still something different than this sitting there and being in a state of unawareness of all these cool things that they're going on within you, and a way to embrace it and move through it. So
I want to say, I saw this woman again this morning, Deborah, and it was really funny. She said to me, she goes, I heard you went crazy. This was several years ago. I heard you went crazy.
When Donna left?
What's that?
When you broke up with Donna?
Yeah. So I said to her, I did. I said, you see, part of what happens is that it's kind of like in life. Like, if you watch a basketball team and you sense someone's there, they're there. It's kind of like when you go through the crazy is that your nervous system's readjusting, and it's like, it doesn't make any sense to you.
Right.
So that's another thing you need to allow.
None of it makes sense.
It is crazy. But, here's the thing. When we go through something together and we listen and we bridge in a world together, that's what all my coaching, everything I do now is about, that, making these transitions where we become more alive and vulnerable. And as our eyes get unarmored, we start to feel more connected to people. Like in the day, I gaze with people, even if it's a moment, and I can feel it in my heart. So what happens is, as we unarmor this piece, this body, we start to feel more connected. And that connection roots us more. And the rooting helps us go through very difficult passages.
That's a good point. I agree with you 110%. Now, going to cut this short.
Okay.
Tell our audience how to reach you as well.
Okay. Right now, currently, you could reach me at Vibrant Living Connections. Mm-hmm. Vibrant Living Connections. You could call me on my cell at 4. If you're called or spoken to, it lasts sometimes a moment. Call. Let's see what we can unfold together. 413 413-320-7100. 413-320-7100. To go to a place that we don't know and to allow the unknown, it's a beautiful passage. I went through it. I'm continuing to go through it. And I'd be honored to explore and see how you could experience another level of heart and awareness and deep love in your life through heartbreak.
All right. And we can also do another session like this, but we can bring in some people who are experiencing that, so we can, in the moment, help them see a different perspective of this, help them rise above it in the moment. I'm Michael J. Russ. You can reach me on Twitter at Michael J. Russ, my social media. MichaelJRuss.com is my website, and inquiry at Michael J. Russ is the email. Inquiry at MichaelJRuss.com is the email. These are sessions that we hope are helping you, either through video on YouTube or through my podcast, Beyond the 3D. Thank you so much for joining Glenn and I today. We hope that you have an absolutely, I hope personally that you have an absolutely amazing week, because you've made it so. Glenn, what's your tagline, my friend? Your life's precious, enjoy it. You've only just begun. You're beginning. It's a new beginning. And none of us have enough information to remain pessimists. So keep listening. Michael's got a great new picture. I love your new picture. You do? My little arm cross picture? Beyond the 3D picture is fabulous. Isn't it great? All right. Oh, your buoyant aliveness come through. More to come, people. More to come. Thank you so much. If you're listening on iHeartRadio or SoundCloud or any of the other distribution mechanisms that for this Beyond the 3D podcast, hey, send us your comments. Thank you so much. Make it a great day.